right. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will do, because I see we have someone online, we have Kristen online, so we will do a roll call.
So very quickly, as usual, please say here. Want to make sure everybody can hear each other. So Wendy.
Here.
Kristen.
Here.
Awesome.
Here. Can you hear me? Sorry.
We got you. Thank you. David G. had told me he would be absent tonight. Annie.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Christine. Leslie. No Leslie yet. Not online either. Okay. Patricia.
Here.
Rebecca.
Here.
Sean.
Here.
Brian.
Here.
David T.
Here.
And Tom.
Here.
And I know our two student reps would not be here tonight, so they are absent. Back to you.
Thank you. Next up, we're jumping right into it tonight. Yeah, I knew that. Citizens' comments. None? We'll give it a second. Do we have any online? Oh, we're all set. So we will move right along to additions, adjustments to the agenda by the board or superintendent.
I don't have any tonight.
None? Anyone on the board? I didn't hear from anyone before. You guys have been great about that, so appreciate that. We will move into presentations. Teaching with Technology grant, Amanda Levesque.
Hi there, I'm Amanda Levesque. I am the Elementary Technology Integrationist for the district. And I'm here today because this summer I applied and was awarded a grant called Teach with Tech, and it was to get Merge Cube subscription, and I'm here to talk about that subscription and how we've used it this year. So Merge Cube is an augmented reality program that allows students to kind of bring different topics to life. Thank you. And so there in the video you can see that is actually a Merge Cube, one of these in my hand, and I turned it into you can see the generation of bugs and their life cycles. One of the reasons why I really like this program is because it aligns really well to our ELA curriculum, the CKLA curriculum, and it's really easy to implement. So a lot of times teachers will say, this is the topic I'm working on, and we could very quickly implement and use this tool. So what I did is I went through the different topics of Merge and our CKLA curriculum, and I created kind of a crosswalk of, and this is just a snapshot of the different ways and different ideas that this could be integrated. And this is kind of serves like as a menu, if you would, for teachers to say, oh yeah, this is, you know, how we might want to use this in our class. It's kind of a living document because there are a ton of topics that are within Merge, so yeah. So in this, you see students using it in library class. They do Marana Cookopoly, and each class they do a read aloud and then an activity to go with it. And so this particular read aloud was about dinosaurs. So they get to look at actual dinosaurs and their parts and their skeletons. And it gives you a little bit of information about each one. And this was a fourth grade class. They were learning about force in motion, and they were able to adjust the weights of a truck and the speed and to see how one would affect the other. And so I don't know if you can kind of see, but in the picture on the left, the student actually had multiple trucks, and he was comparing and contrasting the different speeds and weights of the truck. And this is in a first grade class. They were studying the planets. So they were actually able to look at the solar system and hold the solar system. And they could zoom in on each planet and look at the different moons and learn a little bit more information about that. And they were also able to explore a spacesuit and look at the different parts of a spacesuit, which is pretty neat. This is in the third grade class. They were studying the human body, specifically the eyes and the ears. And so they were able to look at a cross-section of an eyeball, which really amazed them, and to look at the different layers of the eyeball and the different bones inside the ears. And so I have a couple of iPads and some merge cubes for us to try today, so you can give it a try.
That's so cool. I love this.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, so if you press the top button, tap, and then go ahead and swipe up. Oh.
Okay, here we are, dinosaurs.
Amanda, can you use a mic just so?
Sorry. If you click on any of the icons on there, it'll pop open.
We don't want to take a test.
No, you don't need to take a test.
No, she's trying to give me a
Don't
ticket
take a
test.
test. And then at the very top of the screen, it says 3D, cube, or world. If you press cube, it'll actually toggle over to the camera, and then you'll want to focus the camera on the cube, and that'll kind of bring it to life. Yeah.
Sunshine.
Yeah. Oh, I got it right there. Yeah.
Here, want to trade?
I'm gonna buy one of these for my nephew.
That's cool. Oh, look at that, you can blow it up.
Here's a shark, and here's your shark back if you want that.
Tap the planet to zoom in, tap the info to learn more.
And some of them have like, there's a little eye that you can click on and get more
Right,
information.
they didn't have this when you were in school.
I said they didn't even have math when I was a kid.
They didn't have computers when you were in school, right?
You gotta be like that. I can hear everything you're saying.
All right, I'll leave now for harassment.
Yeah.
Very cool.
What'd you do, you break it?
How do I get back?
How did we get?
Below the cube.
Nope, I don't want that.
We're not doing anything else tonight except for those, right?
Yeah.
Do we all
Tap
get
the
one?
planet, tap the info to learn more.
It's a little angry.
Oh, bring it back.
We tapped I and we can't get out of I. Oh,
There it is.
she just, yeah.
That is,
That's good. I get the idea. Can I give this to one of these guys?
Yeah. Yeah, and some of them are simulations.
yeah.
So like you can adjust the amplitude of waves.
I don't know how to get back.
Waves change. I mean, it's pretty neat. Yeah.
Oops, I lost the. Here, you play with it now.
Without thinking, and I was just like, I really just did that. My wife was like, we own a robot. I'm. Look at, like, I don't own, like, I'm.
We're looking at the art.
If I really want something like a computer, my nephew, like, I'm gonna figure it out. So So if we move,
I'm not doing anything else, right?
Oh.
now like my two are blowing up.
I was gonna comment, say, I knew you were gonna be there.
I was just like, it was like kind of on a limb. Someone called me and was like, "There's work out there. You gotta get your name out there." And I was like,
Oh, just.
I was like, screw it. Just getting on Facebook. Quickest way to spread the word. And then I've just been going through my phone and like, saying, "Hey, if you're looking for that out, back up."
Oh,
That is so awesome.
Thank you, that's really cool.
That is really cool.
very cool.
On the other end of it, but it is odd to ask for something, but it's also very addictive. Like I'm just like so set limits for myself. Oh, good.
So we discovered if we rotate the cube, it actually changes the look of the, that's very
How
cool.
many of these did you get, and how many of these did you get? So we actually had the cubes from the previous grant from a couple years ago. It's a subscription.
Kind of like, so that's what the grant is. Or it's just, it's obviously not like that, but it's
iPads already. They're actually really affordable.
Oh,
They are. Yeah, but it's,
well, that's where they get you, right?
and then the iPads is still.
Yeah.
Is this subscription based on the purchase, or is it district-wide?
It's 30 licenses. Yeah.
So as long as you're not using more than 30 at any one given time,
Yeah.
right?
So our class
So how many like modules or I don't know what you call them?
So there's
Does-
4 different apps. So there's one, it's Hollow Globe, it does like real-time volcanoes, wildfires.
Wow.
Yeah, and it, coordinates with Oak.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And then there's a one. No, you're not. There's one that does more simulations. So like there was some third graders learning
Yep.
to change the.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
That is really cool.
You might have a hard time getting away from the few board members now. Yeah.
So awesome. It is super.
I'm not following that, Diane.
Yeah.
What I realized is my son, he started doing rec sports this year, which is really good for his self-esteem. Then he also gets like the same, almost the same amount. So it just depends on whatever you're looking for, which was so great for me.
I know that some folks were asking questions as we went through. I didn't know if you guys had any other questions.
How much is this subscription
$1,750.
for a year?
And that gives you, you said 30
Yeah.
licenses?
Yeah, so you just can't go above the 30 simultaneous users.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is great for our class sizes. Didn't actually go through until about December, so we'll be good through next December. So,
Nice.
Can you reapply for the grant or is it just a one-time grant?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'll have to look and try.
If not, it may be an MEF grant.
Oh, that's a good.
Right?
Idea.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
This
thank
is
you for
awesome.
having me.
Anytime you can bring stuff to life for kids, it's exciting for, well, it's exciting for adults.
Right.
Ryan was pretty
This is
pumped,
how the
so-
kids react. Yeah.
Exactly. It's exciting for me. So thank you to coming
Yeah,
to
thank you
share.
for having me.
Yes. Next up, we have technology 5-year plan. Diane?
So I'm gonna try and run my stuff and the meeting at the same time, so.
You got it. You got it.
I got it.
Gosh.
So before I begin, I just wanted to talk just a minute about sometimes, well, a lot of times with technology, you try something new. And there's lots of exciting and new things happening in, hang on a second. In, you know, it just changing, ever-changing, and one of the things that we've been talking a lot about, even in the policy committee, is AI, you know, artificial intelligence. And so just recently, our curriculum director tried something new. And it was very innovative, and I saw the potential in it. And so what we're trying out is a product called Google Notebook LM. And it allows you to upload a document and then actually create a conversation, like a podcast that's a conversation about the document that you just uploaded. And when the document she uploaded was the MEA, Why Participation Matters, and which is a very nice document. We've sent it out to all of our parents and have it posted on the web and all of that. And, you know, I've looked at it for, you know, as a seasoned educator, I feel like I should know all of this stuff. And I feel like, you know, I had a pretty good understanding. But once I listened to the deep dive, it's called a deep dive, and the conversation about why participation matters, my level of understanding was so different. It was engaging, I listened to it, and I felt like I was part of a conversation. And so tonight I decided, what if I did that with our tech plan, right? And we just listened to a conversation about what our tech plan is. You've all seen it. It's, you know, it's relatively well laid out, but I felt like having somebody talk about our tech plan in a conversation changes how we think about it. And so Karen, actually, you know, we were discussing about how we would, you know, explore this idea. And so she came up with maybe calling it something like the Black Bear Podcast, and having a disclaimer that it is made by artificial intelligence, and it's used, you know, AI language modeling that produces conversational content designed to sound natural and engaging while being fully automated. It just produces content without the traditional human hosts and recording sessions and all of that. But you'll see as you listen to it, you'll get an idea of how engaging this kind of work is. We're not promoting that we would do everything with this, but it does create an opportunity, as well as thinking about what might some of the challenges be. But that, I felt like this was a safe place that we could try it out with a document that's our document and just see how we like it. So I felt like, you know, maybe we could do this. So I'm gonna just get out of this and share. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to just sort of try something new and see how we do. Let's see. Oops, I'm not. And since you all have the tech plan in front of you, I put it in Canva so that we could have the sound in a graphic, but it's not going to be a graphic that's that you can see very well because of the way we're doing this. Hang on. I'm going to stop share just for a quick second. Let's try now.
All right, so you're here with us on the deep dive. You know the drill, you want the info, the important stuff without all the fluff. You're busy. So today we're diving into something really interesting, I think, the Marana Cook schools, which is also known as RSU /tag 38. They've got this technology 5-year plan, covers 2024 to 2029. And it's pretty fascinating, I gotta say, how they're looking at tech and how they're gonna use it in education over the next, well, 5 years.
Yeah, it's a really detailed plan. It's basically their roadmap for investing in technology.
It's like a blueprint.
Yeah, financial blueprint. And it really aligns with their overall mission.
Oh, that's right. They've got that whole,
A caring school community.
yes, dedicated to excellence.
Exactly. And they want to build these safe, dynamic learning communities to help their students become responsible global citizens.
And tech is a big part of that.
Absolutely. So this technology plan is all about making sure they're using their resources wisely to make that vision a reality.
The sound is driving me crazy. Sound is one of my nemesis of doing this, because you can hear the sound coming. Maybe if I turn. What are you saying? Okay, so is it going to be?
All right, so you're here with us on the deep dive. You know the drill, you want the info, the important stuff without all the fluff.
Right to the point.
Exactly. We respect your time. You're busy. So today we're diving into something really interesting, I think, the Marana Cook schools, which is also known as RSU /tag 38. They've got this technology 5-year plan, covers 2024 to 2029. And it's pretty fascinating, I gotta say, how they're looking at tech and how they're going to use it in education over the next, well, 5 years.
Yeah, it's a really detailed plan. It's basically their roadmap for investing in technology.
It's like a blueprint.
Yeah, financial blueprint. And it really aligns with their overall mission.
Oh, that's right. They've got that whole,
A caring school community.
yes, dedicated to excellence.
Exactly. And they want to build these safe, dynamic learning communities to help their students become responsible global citizens.
And tech is a big part of that.
Absolutely. So this technology plan is all about making sure they're using their resources wisely to make that vision a reality.
So, like, what's the big overarching goal here? If we had to sum it up in, like, one sentence, what are they trying to achieve?
One sentence. I'd say they want to improve student achievement.
Straightforward enough.
Yeah, and they're going to do that by giving both students and teachers the tools, the technology, the professional development, and the support they need to actually use that technology well.
Makes sense. So it's not just about, like, throwing tech at the problem. It's about making sure everyone knows how to use it effectively.
Exactly. The listener, I think, will find it interesting how they connect that goal directly to student achievement, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So how are they actually going about this? Where do they start?
Well, the first big area they focus on is student technology access.
Okay, what does that look like?
Again, sound. So that just gives you an idea of where we're going with that, and I thank you for allowing me to try something new. I just felt like it was an opportunity to, really think about how we're consuming some of our, information and what that might mean to learners who, want to consume this information, parents, students, teachers, but, don't have a lot of time, or maybe, want to think about it differently. So anyway, let's move on to the tech plan, and I will take any questions that you have for.
It's a very friendly way to present the information. And I can see parents listening to it while they're making supper.
Yep. So I had really gone through the tech plan last spring. I tweaked it in the last couple of months just because we added in those artificial intelligence lines for both the students and the teachers. And you'll see at our next, I think, board meeting, we'll be talking about bringing some of those guidelines to the board from the policy committee. The broad statements belong in the tech plan, whereas the actual guidelines will come from the policy committee and go into more detail there.
What are some of the challenges you see meeting this plan, or what have been some of the challenges?
So around artificial intelligence or just challenges in general?
Just overall.
Yeah, I mean, there's always this balance with budget, right? Of trying to get what we need with affording everything and being responsible about how we use our equipment and our technology. And one of the big things that I think about a lot is the whole idea that we're not just using technology because it's cool. It is connected to the learning and the curriculum, and we're intentional with the purchases that we're making so that kids can get what they need, teachers have what they need, so that we can effectively improve teaching and learning with technology. And so that's like our whole premise. And then just providing the support so that the technology works, the teachers get what they need so that they can use it, and we have the infrastructure to, test all at the same time for the network, have good cybersecurity going on, filtering, all of those things play into this because it's such a big job, right?
Right. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Last year, you guys literally rolled out a Promethean board. How have those been received? Those are parent-teacher conferences here at the high school last week, and it seemed like people were enthusiastic. I didn't know that was just the people I talked to.
I felt like it's been a pretty successful rollout. We were able to get them all installed over the summer, so teachers started the year with those. There's been a bit of a learning curve, but I also believe there's been less, we were looking through our tech support, and seeing, some of the trends and things. And this time last year, we were spending so much time on Apple TVs and streaming and all of those things. And so now with the newer equipment and the direct plug and all of that, our tech support has decreased in those areas. So that has been really helpful because, we're trying to make sure that everybody gets what they need and have equipment that works for them.
That was a super cool demo too.
I don't think it was super cool. It was okay.
No, it's amazing how just like a natural language model can summarize and spit that out in a conversational way. I think somebody said, well, that if you're home and washing the dishes or whatever, maybe you don't have time to read through, and you could just more tears read through it along. Even though it's a super well-written document, it might not be super exciting for you, but
Exactly.
a conversation on your way to work or something might be a good way to do it. So thanks for sharing that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no. Any other questions, comments?
So we are giving this to you this week. We also know, again, with what Diane showed you and stuff, you're probably going to want to read through it a little bit closer. We actually need a vote on it, but we're going to vote on it next week to give you guys time to digest a little bit. And then again, right before the vote, if there's any questions, we can get those questions answered. But we will need a vote, but we wanted to get this to you ahead of time, so.
Perfect.
And the dates on it were 2024 to 2029, because I actually did it last year, and we didn't think to vote on it, and then I revised it. So I don't, if you would rather have it be 2025 to 2030, we could make that change as well.
I think you've practicality been doing it.
Yeah,
recently
and
that way.
we have
I
a
mean,
lot of budget documents
Yeah.
already based on this,
Right,
because we went
exactly.
with our budget and that sort of thing, so.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, now we get to move on to some more budget workshop. Presentation of draft 3 of FY 26 RSU 38 budget.
So as Mandy's passing, I'll let Mandy pass stuff out, and I'll just give you a couple of quick updates from draft 2 to draft 3. And one of the biggest kind of updates is between draft 2 and draft 3, we got some news around insurances that was not expected. We get our insurance through MSMA, and it's Anthem. And one of the things they do for us is they will usually let us know ahead of time what the max increase is going to be. And what we do is look at what's called our mod rate, which is about, basically it's how much are we using of the insurance, that kind of thing. And long story short, got a letter from them a few weeks back saying that the potential max increase would be 17.89, if I remember correctly, 17.89%. We had a placeholder in the budget for 10%. So we thought, well, we better kind of account for this increase without getting into all of the kind of nitty-gritty details. We had to account for that, but again, we don't actually have our number yet. We're expected to get that possibly Monday or Tuesday of next week, potentially Wednesday or Thursday. It's all gonna depend. They're the ones that give that. So again, this budget that you're seeing, we made changes to reflect, we upped the insurance just as a precaution. And Mandy made a couple of other adjustments within that we had talked over. So with that, I'm gonna first turn it over to Mandy to go kind of walk through what you're looking at on the paper. And then we'll follow that up with a little bit more information, so.
So the first sheet is the warrant article budget summary. That's the sheet, everybody's looking. And that shows by warrant article, the percent increase to each article and the overall percent increase. If you'll recall, our second draft, our overall increase, we were at 4.59. And even though we did increase the insurance amount, as Jay said, there were some other things that we were able to adjust down. So overall, we are down on the budget from 4.59 to 4.5. One of the things that we were able to adjust down is we had our fuel bid this past week. And it came in better than I had anticipated, because I always anticipate an increase. It's rare that we go down, and luckily I was able to bring a couple of those lines down. So you'll notice both in Article 10 and Article 9 that those have come down a little bit, because Article 10 has your heating oil, and then Article 9 would have your diesel fuel for buses. So I was able to bring both of those down slightly. Another article that we brought down was special education came down a little bit because we did remove one of the high out of district placement cost. hoping that with starting the reserve fund and the current out-of-district placement that we have, that we won't need that additional one. So we were able to bring that down a little bit. So overall, again, from 4.59 to 4.5. The next sheet that I would have you look at is the revenue area sheet. That's the one that goes this direction. And this is essentially the same as last, except for obviously the total budget. So the total budget at the bottom in the 25-26 column is down to match the new budget figures, and that also impacts the additional local dollar amount. So that has come down a little bit as well. And then from this page to the third draft of the local dollars, that figure that you see in the additional local dollars from the previous page we were just looking at, which is the third figure up, you'll see that about halfway down this sheet, horizontal sheet, about halfway down on that first district column is that 7.3, almost 7.4 million that I was talking about. That's your additional local. That's what drives that percentage that everybody pretty much goes to, which is closer to the bottom of the page. So if you'll recall last, on our second draft, we were at 5.04% overall to the district, and we are now at 4.9%. And that translates out to 5.34 for Manchester, 4.51 for Mount Vernon, 4.5 for Reedfield, and 5.26 for Wayne. So those are the only figures that have changed from our last draft to this draft. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
So as you're reviewing that, I just want to let you know there was a request by the board to bring the attrition positions kind of as a summary of where we were. So I have that in the packet for you. And of course, we can answer any questions that you may have over that too. Those attrition positions are what's helping us keep that 4.5%. If you'll remember, the board had said, we'd like to see that below 5%. That's why we're at 4.5%. So, and again, these are positions that are being absorbed through either retirements or resignations. And as you can see, and I've mentioned to you before, it's kind of across the district, across the various schools, couple different departments. And one of the things that we have done is that we have met as an A-team. We've talked through some of these scenarios and talked about how do we absorb these positions. And again, we don't have all the details worked out yet, but we have been having multiple conversations around this and doing it as an A-team. So it's not just one person's kind of decision. And they've done a really good job because these are tough. You know, anytime you lose a position, it's tough. So they are doing their best, and I firmly believe that they've kind of, they've got this, so to speak. It may not be fun, but they've got it, and they know this is what we have to do. So those total positions equal about $630,000, just so you know. That's not the exact number, but that's pretty close to what it kind of translates to across that. So just so that you guys have it, and again, we can answer any questions as we're going along here.
So, question on this list. So if someone else, like there could be people that you don't know are retiring, I mean,
Right.
this list could change a little bit based on that. If they say like someone announced next week that you didn't know was retiring or leaving, and that might be a better person,
Right.
this could change. I want to make that.
Yeah, and I would have a conversation
Right.
with the A-team and the school that's affected to see, do we actually replace it, or can we not fill it? So like, these are the ones we know, and we kind of, like I said last time, have in hand. We know that there's probably going to be more that come even after we, on April 9th, make a vote. We're probably still going to be looking, and those are we'll have to have conversations about, are we filling or are we not filling those positions, so.
I'm not saying not to film, but there could be a change is what I'm
Right.
saying based
Yes,
on new
based
information.
on, as long as we
Yes,
stay below that 5%.
right, correct.
Yeah.
just wanted that kind of on the record, in case someone says, well, we said we're gonna do this, but now we did this.
Right. This is just what we have in hand
correct.
right now. It
Correct.
could modify a little bit.
I know that was a lot at once, so.
Yeah,
Other
absolutely.
questions, Pat, go ahead.
So these teacher positions, are they going to be absorbed somehow by the schools?
Yes, so each, whatever the position is, the principals are working on their plan as to how do we modify, change whatever we need to in order to not fill the position, so.
So I feel,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
feel downright stupid for asking this, but the asterisk at the bottom, the single asterisk, positions covered by a collective bargaining unit, is that,
Thank you for asking. So that is part of like when we are not filling positions for whatever reason. Contractually, I need to notify the association. When I had a meeting with them, not this past Monday, the Monday before, and they have this same exact list. So I just wanted to note for the association, these are bargained positions.
Okay,
So, yeah, good question.
Are there more questions, comments, concerns? People like the direction this, I mean, like's a strong word, but comfortable with the direction this is going?
I'm comfortable with it, you might say, because I know that each position is being evaluated carefully, and when necessary, talking to the association and working with the A-team to see, just as you and Jay were just saying, to see what will work, whether this position leaving, how we can fill it, and if we're gonna be able to do it in an appropriate or effective way. And I know you're doing that, so that's why I'm comfortable with it.
And I said this to Jay while Mandy was talking, I think there's, if anyone pays attention to the news or follows things that are going on in the world and in Maine, I mean, kind of elephants in the room, tariffs are switching every day. That oil, gas, all that stuff could have a tariff on it. Now, over 90% of our oil and gas comes from Canada. That comes to Maine, that's a fact. So you never know what could happen there. And even though it's a bid, there's probably a clause in there somewhere. I'd be willing to put money on it. If not, then I just know there's a clause. If there's a tariff, we'll have to absorb that. There was a state budget that is passed. You can debate if you like it or not, but if there's $118 million shortfall in that budget, and the two largest expenses in Maine that we pay for are DHHS and education, there could be a big change. So I think it's very important, and we are, to be responsible when it comes to our budget, because that money has to come from somewhere. And the two big pies, you can look at a pie chart, and it's education and DHHS. So, and they didn't fund they made the decision, I was there, I watched it for a client, and they made the decision not to fund Medicare for the Medicaid for the second year at $118 million. So that money's gonna have to come from somewhere. So I think it's I think the work we're doing here is not, it's good work, and I appreciate the work that everyone's put in to make these tough decisions.
So I did share this with the budget committee, and since Sean brought that up, I feel like it's appropriate to say that now. So we don't bill, there's districts around us that absolutely do, they bill Medicare. We don't bill Medicare at this time. We made a decision because several years ago, won't get into all the history, but we made a decision consciously to not do that. So again, that's hanging out there, but RSU 38 does not bill Medicare. So we aren't, and I don't want it to sound cavalier or anything like that, but it's basically not our problem because we don't participate with that, at least at this time. So I just want to put that out there. So again, people know that, so that, because you are going to hear about it in surrounding districts. And I know sometimes that translates to, well, our home district must do that as well, but we don't at this time. So, and if you'd like to hear the history behind that, Ryan, Mandy, and myself, to a small degree, can give you that backstory if you'd like to hear it.
I think there's some members on the board that were.
Yeah,
here as
they
well.
probably were.
I
Yeah.
know I was. And then the last thing, I did get a memo, and I meant to bring it from Maine School Board Association, saying when it comes to federal funding, really, it didn't really say a lot, like, be cautious. Because they don't honestly know what's gonna happen, was the short of it. And I can share a copy of that with the board. I did, then maybe others got it, but, so that's another thing that's out there as well. I don't mean to be a bearer of bad news, but it's the realities we've gotta face, or maybe some people think it's good news. I don't know. I'm not here, I have my own thoughts on that, but I'm not here to debate that tonight. So I do think it's important that for the future, kind of keep those things in mind. Citizens' comments on the budget. None? Anyone online, Diane, that wants to comment on the budget? Yep, could you send Diane a message? We'll give you a second, give you a minute. Frank?
Did we talk about the exposure that we have to, let's say, zero federal dollars came here, what that exposure to the budget was? Because I think that's something we, again, like you were saying before about Medicare, if that zeroes out, then how does that impact us? If the federal government zeroes out, how does that, is that something we've talked about yet? Because I know we talked about the budget committee, and I don't mean to make it weird for you, Mandy, because
No,
I
it's
think
okay.
I just did.
So the budget you have in front of you is all general fund, to be clear, so we only vote on general fund. That being said, there are positions in here that are partially funded by general fund as well as different types of federal funds. So yes, that would be an impact to those positions. Some of those positions are our interventionists. We pay for a portion of salaries for 4 of our interventionists, 1 at each school, through our Title I and Title V funds. And then several of Ryan's special ed staff, such as OT, PT, speech, school psychologists, though a lot of those positions are partially or completely funded with local entitlement funds. So yes, there would be an impact. At this time, we receive roughly, and this is not an exact figure, but roughly around $630,000 in federal funds to help cover those positions.
So that's almost exactly the same
I think
amount
it's the same
of
amount for nutrition.
the positions
Yeah.
that were, so that's about 2.6% of the total budget. So if the board said, well, it's too bad that the federal money dried up, we'd have to bring in 2.6% more roughly, because it's the same. Okay, I think it's just important that people
It's very
understand
important.
that.
I
And
agree.
then the follow-up was, are there, and I'll really ask questions you probably aren't prepared for, but for the special education requirements, are there certain positions that we need to maintain, even though they're federally funded, or we're in violation of some other regulation? Is that,
Ryan would be better to speak to this, but I would say absolutely. You know, we are bound by the student's IEP, and if an IEP calls for specific services, if we don't have somebody on staff to provide those services, then we have to pay an outside contractor. You're likely going to pay an outside contractor more than you're going to pay an on-staff individual. So the short answer to that is yes, we are obligated to that. So if we lose those funds, we'd have to find another way to fund those positions.
so that's super helpful when somebody says, oh my gosh, this dries up, like, our exposure is what, 3% of the total-ish for the budget. Okay.
No, it's good.
I mean, I hope that puts some people's minds at ease, because I think we were talking about budget committee that some other schools are really much more exposed than we are.
Yes.
And in the cities like Lewiston.
Yes.
And I'd also, I guess, would add that that's one of the reasons that an unassigned fund balance can be critical. If those funds dry up and we have no unassigned fund balance because we keep giving it all back to the taxpayers, which is great, but unfortunately then in a predicament like that, we then have to increase our budget and go back to the taxpayers and ask them for more money to now cover the services we have to provide. So, you know, that's the plus of having an unassigned fund balance. And there is currently a bill out there to I don't know if anybody's followed how the unassigned fund balance works, but years ago, you could only have 3%. They upped it to 5%, and then during COVID, upped it to 9%. They've now moved it back to 5%, and there's actually a bill on the floor to increase it back to 9%. You know, I think for these types of reasons, so that school districts don't run into shortfalls.
And I can share that based on, again, based on what I know through my channels, is that as far as the amounts that they signed a continuing resolution that basically flat funded from 2004 to 2025. But again, as Sean said, whether that money actually, how and when that money actually flows through, there's extenuating circumstances that are going to determine that. So like basically we're okay through September 30th. After September 30th, it's all going to depend on what happens. So you're probably going to hear news stories in the next week and a half-ish where they will, you know, it's going to start to play out, I guess is the way I would say that. And that's out of our hands. We're just going to have to do what we have to do. So, yeah, but just so that you guys kind of know, it is kind of flat funded through a resolution, but how that money and when that money flows, that's what's up in the air at this point. So,
Are we more at risk for changes to the state budget? I mean, is that a fair statement than the federal budget?
that's a really good question.
Yeah.
That's an unknown, I guess, is the way I would answer that.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree that's an unknown.
I mean, but it's a follow-up to your thing. We don't control what happens under the dome.
Right.
So we're victims here, but then we're also trying to make sure that the folks who pay taxes for the services provided by the school board, understand, you know, why we do the things we do. And I think it's complicated unless you're on the board, you really don't know. So it's just good to share as much of that without being alarmed.
Yeah.
Right.
There have been curtails due to state funding in the past, not since I've been in this role, but I've been with the district for a little while now, and I remember years where Bridget's had to deal with my predecessor had to deal with a curtailment. So it's, you know, always a possibility, I guess. Considering there's a budget shortfall for the state, I mean, it depends on, I guess, how they deal with that.
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't that long ago.
But I guess the message is it's eyes wide, though. Everybody's aware. You got your eyes on the ball, and know all these outside risks that you can't control that we're trying to mitigate best we can. So it's good.
And you can't ignore them.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else from anyone? All right, well, thank you everyone for all your hard work, all of you, and we appreciate it. And
So before you wrap, I just want to let you guys know the last adjustment will be the insurance. Once we get that insurance rate, that'll be the last adjustment. We hope to have that on April 2nd, which is next week, but it may actually only come when we actually vote on the budget on April 9th. What we would do is inform the board ahead of the meeting as much as possible, but I just want to let you guys know we may get to next week's meeting and there may be no change because we haven't gotten that number yet. And then we would just inform you afterwards, try to get you the information ahead of April 9th's vote. So, because April 9th is the day the board has to vote so that we can start getting it ready, obviously, for the two-step validation process. So sorry, Sean.
Yep, no worries. Well, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you guys from Reed Field Select Board have anything to say? Okay, no, I wanted to offer, it's nice to have you both here, so. Yeah. Okay, all right, thanks. On that note, thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week.